The purpose of this presentation is to represent two themes simultaneously, which are going to be running through my discussion today. The first one is that your company exists in an environment. Your department exists in an environment inside your company exists in an environment inside of the world, and most project managers, in my experience, frequently get into a position where they're only looking at what's right in front of them right now, and they often don't take the time to step back and take a wider view of that environment that the company lives in, or even the environment that their department lives in. I speak to Project Management Institute groups all over the United States at various times throughout the year, probably once every couple of months. And I've gotten to know the nature and the kind of people, at least the ones that come to the meetings. Probably a lot of you today are less likely to come to meetings and more likely to do online stuff. So the first theme is that you live in an environment and that you can draw that environment out on a map. This is a blank map that you have in front of you, and we're going to be filling that out as we go through our talk today. The second theme that's running through this talk today is the concept of planning, executing, and measuring, which is Project Management 101, but there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, and we all know that we don't always do the best job of some of the most basic things sometimes. So how can we use our daily work of planning and executing and measuring projects and executing projects, planning them and measuring them, the success of them? How can we use that to understand the environment that our company lives in better and hopefully avoid some tragedies that companies have befallen, or find some successes, opportunities for success that our competitors or our coworkers might not see without our help? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. There are two kinds of things we're going to be putting on the map today. One is gold mines, opportunities, and the other one is landmines, pitfalls. How are we going to know earlier that there's a pitfall approaching the company, or that there's an opportunity our department could take advantage of? And it's my argument that excellence in cost accounting is an underutilized ability that project managers in particular have at their disposal to get a window into the future, to understand more than other people do about these pitfalls and these opportunities, these gold mines and these landmines that are coming your way. 8, the stock market dropped dramatically, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. There was a employment that is still not quite rectified. Most people see this coming. People not see this coming. They didn't take action when the signals were pretty clear soon enough to avoid some of the problems that occurred. And then when the market bottomed out, the housing market bottomed out and started to recover in 2009, and other markets too, most businesses and most people were still stuck in the past of several months before, and in a time when it would have been the best time to be buying things, hiring people, expanding, because things were turning around, you get a jump on the competition. Most companies and most people had their minds stuck in the depression of the prior few months, out on some opportunities. So the economy is humming along pretty well. Employment is improved quite a bit. How would we know if we're about to have another crash in the stock market, or crash in the housing market, or problems with employment, or are things going to just keep getting better and better? Is there a way within your own company to structure things so that you can get early warning signals about which way things are going? The financial industry got a lot of the blame for all this, and probably rightly so. But there are things that you and your company could have done to ameliorate the damage that you probably didn't do, typically people didn't do. book that I wrote that you can get on Amazon if you're interested. It's about time and using time wisely in a business context. Time is the ultimate wasting asset, and most companies nowadays, and increasingly most companies around the globe, are becoming knowledge worker companies. The manufacturing work where people are twisting bolts on machinery and assembling things, part of that work is now done in China. And the design of those objects and the design of financial systems and of software and of marketing and automation systems and all of these other kinds of things, that's knowledge work. And I mean, by knowledge work, I mean that people are mainly sitting in front of computers most of the time, and they're having meetings and conference calls and doing what we're doing right now. This is knowledge work. When building chairs and desks and physical objects 50 years ago in America, that costs very well. The chair that you're sitting in right now, whoever built that chair, they know exactly how much it costs from a parts perspective, and also probably from a labor perspective, at least for the manufacturing portion of that. They know how much it costs to build that chair. The design of the chair, somebody who did it in a CAD/CAM system and did the knowledge work part of creating the idea for that chair, it's usually the case in most companies that that is a cost that is much less well understood. And I would argue knowledge worker companies can benefit just as much as the manufacturing companies of 50 years ago did from understanding their costs, and just as much as farmers from 100 years ago did at understanding their costs. We've moved as a society from a place where 99% of the people lived on the farms to a place where most of the people worked in the factories, to now a place where most of the people are knowledge workers. But somehow, we've done a very poor job of continuing to understand our costs. If you think about the company that you work in, or companies that you have worked in, you may say, well, we've tracked our time. We have timesheets. People fill out timesheets. We know how much things cost. If that's true, then you should be able to say, with some level of confidence, this customer cost this much to serve last quarter, last month, last year, yesterday. And this department spent this much time on this customer versus that customer versus that customer, or this project versus that project versus this other project, or this phase of each project. You can use the phases of projects and the cost of those phases to do extraordinarily outstanding jobs of predictive capability for estimation improvement, for example. It's just one of the many things that I talk about in that book. As mentioned earlier, in addition to filling out our map, we're going to talk about planning, executing, and measuring projects, and how that data can help us fill out our map so that we understand landmines that are coming at us and gold mines that might be available to us. Area, we have to understand people usually, but sometimes machinery, equipment, consumables. Here in Austin, Texas, where I live, there's a lot of people that work in the energy industry. So in addition to the human resources, they also have to deal with trucks that put pressured liquid down into the ground to crack the rock and get the oil out. They have to deal with consumables like drill bits or liquid that they're pumping down in there that they have to pull out and recycle. And those are the resources that they're dealing with.